do it, at least recorded on my side. Okay, super. All right. We've got everybody on for now. I'm sure there'll be some others joining us. I'm Pete Caliendo from Chicago. I'm with ISG Baseball Vice President, and also have a podcast called Baseball Outside the Box. And on with us today is John McLaren. Some of you know John. A lot of people know John internationally. He was a former big league manager, coached in Chinese team. He's World Baseball Classic manager, coach also with the USA team.
Послушать эксперта бейсбольного.
Experience, and we thought it'd be a great time to bring John on. Have anybody on the show, call it, ask questions, and you can have a conversation. John, you can answer any question you like. I think that'd be a good way to start. If you want to start, maybe say something.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I tell you what, it's great to be here. I have an extreme passion for international baseball. Even though it's a U.S. game, the way it's been played around the world intrigues me. I like to help other countries to try to get their program going. I worked with China for about 9 years, and I know what it's like to start kids from a very low level and seeing them progress. It's a great feeling. Like I said, I enjoy traveling, and when I see baseball played around the world, it's heartwarming for me. It brings people together.
Super. And again, is there somebody who wants to start with any kind of question, any conversation, something you're interested in knowing? If not, I'll ask the question. Dimitri, you got your volume?
Yeah, I can start.
I know Dimitri's got a lot of questions, John, so hang tight.
John, we'll also have people who might need my translation to Russian, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So my first question would be, in Europe, the season is about 50 to 60 games, 55 to 60 games. And the concept of going to the swamp for a player, it's you have to get out of it as soon as possible. They do play on the weekends, and they have 5-day tournaments, twice a year, perhaps. So I guess my question would be, what would be your recommendation to keep an eye on performances from day to day to day, or weekend to weekend to weekend, and how fast to make an adjustments, and what would be those adjustments?
Well, I was talking to Pete last week, and what I have always done, I was taught as a young coach, is always keep a notebook in my back pocket. And I write about performances during the game. I write recommendations, what I want to do next practice. I write pros and cons, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And this way I don't forget. I'll forget. So this is why I did it in the major leagues. I always encourage young coaches to do it. You want to start translating that before I get...
Sure. Максим, Максим, you still there? Максим, ты там?
Вышел уже.
Денис, ты в порядке или ты переводишь?
Да, я в полном порядке. Эта тема, в принципе, не моя. У меня тема U12.
Ну, ты оставайся, послушай, потом задашь свои вопросы, хорошо?
Да.
Dimitri, you there? Coming back.
It seems like he's offline. So.
Dimitri forgot to pay his bill.
My phone is crashing, unfortunately. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Phone?
I have a small laptop, but it's not holding it too well. The Skype is crashing. Sorry, John. So everyone seems okay. Please go ahead.
Well, I was just saying about taking notes. I'm a big believer in that. You also have a file of what you've talked about, and sometimes when we go 3 or 4 days, we'll forget about little things, and I think little things lead to big things. And I'm a big advocate of taking notes during the game, and after the practice, I'll write notes, how practice went, what I needed to do to improve things. I'm an extreme believer in having a structured, organized workout. It might be too tough to ask you to have a written schedule out, but have one in your mind what you want to do before you start. And I always tell the players what we're going to do that day, what we're going to try to accomplish. I mean, besides batting practice, we might work on a team defense. And then on running afterwards, I always try to incorporate base running to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We can be getting in a condition, but we also can be working on our cuts and turns around the bases, and then we do base running. I'll have them take primary leads, secondary leads off first and second, score them on a base hit, and try to make the practice interesting instead of doing the same thing. Play catch, take batting practice, let a couple pitchers throw. Try to put a little zest into it so the players can have some fun. And whenever you can compete, it's a very good tool to have an accelerated workout. They put more effort into it.
Thank you.
You need translation on that?
No, so it seems like everyone is English speaking at the moment.
Okay, continue. Anybody want to follow up a question?
One of the I don't want to dominate this conversation because I'd like to hear your feelings too. Players in Europe, I did 5 academies in Italy, in Germany, and Holland, and I know sometimes players in Europe, number one, you got to be patient with. They don't have a lot of experience in playing, but they do have good talent. And sometimes us as coaches, when I mention the word patience, is my big thing is throwing. You have got to set a structured throwing program up before every practice. And what do we want to accomplish? Well, we want to accomplish getting the arm loose for sure, especially in cool weather. But I have a lot of other things that I want my players to do besides just warming their arms up. I want them to practice the principles of throwing, the absolutes. What is that? You always step in the direction you're throwing. You always drive your shoulder at the target. You always looking at your target. I'm looking to get my feet working, to get my arm making a circle, get my arm up in a throwing position with an L. I want my hand to stay on top of the ball. I want to work on accuracy too. I want to make it competitive. I want to see who can play catch and hit each other in the chest every single time. And then I keep backing them up. Now, this is the key for me. Depending on what age group you have, don't do too much too soon. Like I'm saying, if players play catch for 2 minutes and all of a sudden they're spread out and they're playing, all they're doing is chasing baseballs. We're not accomplishing anything. So I want them to work on accuracy. The smaller kids, I want to throw from a smaller distance. Throw from 45 feet, and then you work your way back. The older guys, you start off a little bit further. You throw long catch a couple times a week. Then you bring them back in, and you have them throw it with velocity. And you try to take a target and make them work at throwing chest high every time. One of the most problems that kids have throwing is they have poor footwork. Poor footwork causes bad throws. That's the number one problem with bad throws is poor footwork. Their feet don't work. So you got them to make them use their feet to have good accuracy throwing. You look at all your good big-time players in the big leagues, your star shortstops, the guys with great arms, third base, Machado, Alex Rodriguez, every one of them's footwork. I had the privilege and the honor of working with Derek Jeter in the first World Baseball Classic. He had a routine every day. Every day he did the same thing. And I just marveled at his footwork, the way he concentrated on making his feet move, making him step in the direction he was throwing. And he got his arm on top, and to watch him follow through, I mean, it was textbook. I mean, it was just absolutely textbook. He was so structured. And that's one of the reasons he was a great player, because he was fundamentally sound. And that's what we're trying to do as coaches, is to give the young players a good foundation to build from.
Thank you.
We've had some guys join us. Quickly, I see different guys, but let's start with the gentleman with the Russia shirt. Your name.
Oh, hello, it's Dennis from St. Petersburg. Peter,
Dennis.
we meet with you in January.
Yes, good. January we had a very large 90 coaches from Russia, all over Russia, in Moscow. Fantastic place, indoor dome, fantastic equipment, great coaches. Yeah, I remember that was a lot of fun. And also Dmitry, most of the coaches online they also work with the senior teams mostly.
The invitation went to his senior teams, but I see that Maxim, he works with the juniors. Estonia, Kaira is working with the juniors. So it's Denis from Belarus, he's also works with the juniors. Arnest from Czech Republic, he is very good. He used to work with the Brno adult team, which is one of the elite clubs in Czech Republic. He is also online.
Popular.
And Bob Protex just joined. He used to work with the Russian national team.
Yes. Hello, Bob.
Dennis, are you on Facebook?
Yes.
I think we're friends on Facebook, aren't we?
Yeah. And we met with you in
Belarus?
In Belarus and in Rotterdam.
Yes, okay. I knew your face.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, guys, this is a great time to ask John some questions. Or something you want to share that you do in your country, and then we can kind of play off of that too. Anybody?
Yeah. If I may, from Estonia.
Yeah, go Estonia.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem to us is that we can actually train 2 times a week. And with Cairo, we have adults and also children. So basically, we have also in adult side, we have beginners and already good players, I would say. And we have to train at the same time, at the same time scale, this 1.5 hour. So I feel myself that I'm kind of rush all the time. So maybe you have some hints to
John, you got
that kind of situation.
Absolutely. I took some notes here. Like I told you, I take notes. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be a one-man coaching team. You have a lot of responsibilities. What do you want to accomplish? Of course, you want to throw a structured. You need to make them up, throw, and run before you start anything. This is going to take you. I'm going to say in the 20-minute range to do this. And now you always want to take. I suggest after they throw to take an infield because they're loose. Take a short infield. Let them get 1. Let them get 2. Let the outfielders throw. And now you want to move into batting practice. And the last thing is you want to take time and you want your pitchers to throw on the side. And what you can do is, if you're getting spread out and you want your pitchers, let's say it's starting to sprinkle a little bit, it's important for your pitchers to throw. I would suggest you have players break up and play pepper while you can slide off with the catchers and the pitchers and let them play pepper. And this, I love pepper. Pepper, they get their late. They learn bat control. The guys that are putting the ball in there, they can work on trying to put the ball in an area on a short little flip, getting a nice little release point on a short little snap throw, and you can accomplish things doing this. And like I said, when you're a one-man crew, it's very challenging, but it's very rewarding. After I'm the type, when I organize a workout, and I always put it on paper, but we're in different circumstances. Sometimes you can't do that. But after I accomplish anything and I sit back after I get back home, I feel good. I feel like that we set a game plan and we executed it. One thing that you can never fool the kids is being organized. They can see through this. When you try to fake it, and I went to China several times, and I went to the MLB Academy, and I was observing, and there were some young coaches that were from California that were instructors there. So we went down for dinner that night, and these kids were all in. They were so conscientious. They wanted to learn. They were hungry for information. And I was glad to try to share whatever I had with them. And they said, John, our workouts today, do you have any suggestions? And I said, you know what? You guys were organized. You kept it going. There was a flow going. There was some excitement. There was some enthusiasm. But one thing that I'd like to emphasize to you, you asked 3 or 4 times, what do you want to do? You don't do that. You are the leader. You are the coach. Don't show weakness. Let them know that you know what you're doing, and you tell them what you want to do. You know, you're letting a young kid dictate your program. And I understand that, you know, you're trying to be friendly. You're trying to give them some leeway, but we are leaders. This is our program, and we got to lead by example. So when I told them that, so I went to another city the next day by train, and I came back the next day. So we go back to the same ball field and the same coaches that were there 2 days before. And it was a night and day difference. They told them, we're going to do this today. And he started telling them and pointing. And I mean, for me, it felt so good to me that these guys had asked me my opinion, and they were doing, very good work in executing what we talked about. And it was a night and day difference. And so always remember, you're in charge. And so know what you want to do before you go out there. Have a good idea what you want to do. Team defenses. What are team defenses? Team defense are work on bunts, work on double plays, work on first and third defense, cutoffs and relays. These are team defenses we do as a group. And if you ever have time for individuals, you can take one position. Let's say you got 3 outfielders. You can throw balls over the top of the head, make them break both ways. Give them situations where you hit them fungos from a short distance. All right, man on first base, they get out on one knee. So give them different situations they can work from. But like I said, if there's only one of you, it's an extreme challenge, but it can be done. But always show confidence. I'm an energetic guy, and I try to rub that off on the players. You're going to have some players that are one-gated. That means they go at a slow pace. It doesn't mean they're lazy. Some of them haven't come out of their shell yet. So that's our job on a different angle. We have to be psychologists. We have to give encouragement. A lot of kids lack confidence. It takes them a while to get this. So we can give this to them. We can build them up, encourage them, compliment them. There's a time for discipline when guys don't hustle and don't play hard the way they should. But like I said, we have so many challenges as coaches. And I just want to tell you this brief story. I didn't have a father growing up. I had a mother, and man, she was great. She gave me discipline, and she wasn't afraid to pop me upside the head when I was out of order. But I didn't have a father in the house. My fathers were coaches. And this is when I decided that if I couldn't make it as a player, I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to be this type of role models for kids and give them some kind of discipline and direction. And that's been fulfilling for me as a coach to have this kind of have a role as being a coach. So that's one of the reasons that I've always wanted to be a coach. I mean, it's grown to a great level because I got to work my way all the way up to the top. But when I coach, I try to find out what level am I on. Am I with young kids, 8, 9, 10? I talk to them on a different level. If I'm on a kid 17 and 18, I can take a more sophisticated approach to baseball, but I need to know my audience. You know, who am I coaching? Real young boys, or I'm getting young men. There's a difference in my coaching technique.
Hey, John, guys, this is a great opportunity to have a guy like John on here with a vast experience, all levels. But we're going to take a question. But one more thing, within Christian's question, there was a little thing in there that I read. A lot of times, different levels in Europe or all over the world, actually, sometimes they have players that are not the same level. So now you're playing catch or you're doing warm-ups, but they're not. Maybe some have just started to play only a year. Others have played longer. What would you recommend in how do you work with these guys or gals in making sure that they're successful in their own way? Because as you know, in the U.S., we've got the same situation at younger levels. You might have a kid, you know, real tall, strong, playing catch with a kid that had just started playing catch. And that's really tough to do.
Great question. That's where I think some one-on-one comes on. Instead of trying, you can coach them and critique them in front of the group, but some of them might be shy and embarrassed because they're way behind the other people. This is if you can. You talk to them. You have them you let them come a little bit earlier, and you talk to them one-on-one, and you don't try to build Rome in one day. You take it to them slow. You let them ask questions about throwing. Show them proper technique. Do it from a short distance. Don't, like I said, don't try to bite too much off right in the beginning. A lot of coaches want instant results. Our profession, sometimes there's no instant results. It takes time. It takes a great amount of patience, and some kids are slower learners than others. And that's why if you can have more one-on-one sessions with kids like this that are way behind the curve, it'll serve you better and especially the kids better. And also, when you guys are not able to get together, but maybe once or twice a week, and you have weather challenges too, have the kids take a baseball home. Have them get a partner. When I was a kid, sometime I was a one-man band. I couldn't find anybody down at the park, and I lived close to the park, but everybody was scattered. I took an old tire and tied a rope around it. You know, back in those days, we didn't have dryers. We dried our clothes in the backyard and put them on the lines. So I hung this tire, and I used to throw baseballs. I had 2 baseballs, and I would throw baseball from these 2 tires. I was working on my arm, and I was working on my accuracy. I just fire 2 balls and go back from where I was, and I would go different angles and try to see if I can hit it from different angles. So, like I said, sometimes when you have limited resources and fields and weather problems, you got to get innovative and get creative in putting your workouts together. But I encourage young kids to take baseballs home, and them and their friends, if nothing else, throw the ball against the wall and just practice throwing it and fielding it by yourself. Been a lot of kids have thrown that ball against the wall by themselves, and there's a lot to be said about it.
Okay, we had Breast, and Breast bottom right for me. Breast, you had a question. Blue shirt.
Саша, у тебя есть вопрос?
Is it Sasha?
Не слышно. His name is Sasha. Yeah,
Sasha, how are you?
Hello.
His son Ilias Ladinsky is the part of MLB Academy and one of the talented 17-year-olds in Brest. He's touching 90 miles an hour, all around base runner, hitter, doing a good job. He's 17 years old. It's his son. Sasha is also coaching one of the clubs in Brest. I don't know, John, if you met him, but
I think I have.
Дима,
я,
конечно, английский. Ну, нет, вопрос, я бы спросил бы вопрос, но я только присоединился к беседе, и английский я не знаю, как бы по ходу.
Давай вопрос, я переведу.
Но пока у меня нет вопросов. Как бы я понял, что я папа Ильи Ладинского,
да,
как бы плохо, что сейчас из-за этого коронавируса нет соревнований. И как сохранить, как говорится, тренировки. Да, он сейчас в Минске, они в Логишине там делают 3 игры каких-то. Ну, пока он тренируется, все в порядке. Но он как бы просит программу всегда какую-то, чтобы на увеличение скорости.
Броска?
Ну да. Как бы какие тренировки, потому что, то, что он делает с минской командой, это понятно. Как бы тренировки, они есть постоянно.
Да, я спрошу. So, John, there are 2 questions actually in one. One is, because of this idle period, people are, sitting in their places. The question is, what would you suggest to keep yourself in shape? And the second question is, as a pitching coach, Alex is wondering, what program you designed for a pitcher, on individual pitcher, to improve the speed, to get a couple of miles more, especially at the junior level?
Well, one, don't get carried away with the velocity at a young age. There's a natural progression. The kids, they got to get, especially if you're a tall kid. Prime example I can get is Randy Johnson. He had so many moving parts when he first started in professional baseball. He had a great arm, but he was 6'10", and he had body parts going on all over the place. Until he was able to refine his delivery, he struggled with his control. And I get asked all the time, can I lift weights, take vitamins and that? Be patient. Like I said, be patient. This is not going to be a one-season type of deal. To me, I recommend trying to throw the ball where you want to throw it and go from there. Having a smooth delivery, getting your arm up in a throwing position as soon as you can is a great. I've heard Tom Seaver said if he could say one thing about pitching, he says, get your arm up in a throwing position as soon as you can. Get your arm up so you can stay on top of the ball. Too many.
John, would you mind just taking a pause for 1 second? I don't want to be rude to interrupt you. Just let me translate it. So, Sash, and everyone else who is Russian speaking. Саша, Джон говорит, что не нужно фокусироваться на скорости. Надо забыть про скорость. Он привел пример Рэнди Джонсон, который по началу своей карьеры бросал сильно, но был большие руки, а не махал кругом и не мог попасть нигде. И он говорит, что это все придет. Скорость придет. В бейсболе быть питчером много других элементов. точность попадания, включение мяча, попадание по зонам, которые могут сделать питчера очень успешным. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
Спасибо.
Okay, I would concentrate on control.
Он говорит, что я бы фокусировался бы на контроле.
And working on a great release point and good balance.
И работал бы над балансом и правильным выпуском мяча, на идеальным выпуском мяча.
Have the catcher set up 6 inches outside and have the pitcher throw 5 pitches. Move him over inside, do the same thing.
Чтобы кетчер показывал цель, это было 6, это порядка 15 сантиметров от дома, и питчер попадал туда 5 из 5.
Yeah, I like I said, sometimes it takes longer than others to build an arm up, and I think the most important thing is to be on a regular throwing program, to build the arm up, to throw long, and a lot of running and conditioning to make your legs strong. And you have to be careful when we start getting involved with weights if you don't have a supervised program. Go ahead, tell him that.
Джон говорит, что время сделает руку сильнее. И он говорит, что оставлять спортсмена одним с весом он не рекомендует. Если спортсмен без правильной программы и без человека, без тренера, который смотрит над ним постоянно и контролирует, это очень опасно.
You definitely have to have proper warm-up. A lot of young kids that are hard-headed, especially the ones with real good arms, they just come out firing, like it gets cold in Belarus, and you have to take your time, and you don't need a big thick jacket, then a sweatshirt, and then 2 undershirts. You got to take the thick jacket off so there's no restrictions on your arm. I know it's cool outside, but just throw with a sweatshirt arm, let your arm work, get a proper throwing amount of time in, 10 minutes, whatever you have designed for that day, depending where his arm is, and getting conditioned. Now put your jacket back on after you've thrown.
Он рекомендует, что обязательно нужна разминка, особенно в холодные периоды. В Беларуси в начале, очень холодно, в начале сезона. Но это не говорит, чтобы человек разминался в мастерке или в куртке. Для того, чтобы правильно было движение, нужно снять куртку, снять мастерку и разогреться сначала, и потом бросать.
We talked about, you definitely have to get on some kind of running program because pitchers need strong legs. That's where they get their drive off the mound. And, if a pitcher, I'll give you an example. If a pitcher's throwing high, I would tell him, throw one in the dirt. And they look at me and I'm saying, you're going from one extreme, high, and now I'm making him throw the ball in the dirt, and he'll reach out and he'll hold on to the ball a little bit longer, and you might get the proper feel. And it's just, a little technique that, the catcher doesn't like it sometimes, but especially with like change ups and breaking balls, I tell them, throw the ball in the dirt, and they'll hold on to the ball a little bit longer.
I'll translate. Он первым говорит, что обязательно, чтобы питчер бегал много. И второе, например, если ты видишь, что питчер бросает вверх, мяч идет вверх, он рекомендует сказать ему брось в землю. И для того, чтобы он тянулся за мячом, для того, чтобы выполнить это задание. Он говорит, что кетчеры этого не любят, но это необходимо сделать такую поправку.
I think Ernst, you had questions. My man Ernst.
So I'll read the questions. Two questions for Ernest, Czech Republic. One question about psychology. He says that you earlier, you touched a little bit on psychology. Can you go a little bit over it again? You said that you're an energetic guy. How do you keep that energy? What drives you? So this is a question number one, and then there is a technical question.
Yeah, getting to know your players is an important key to me to being a good coach. you have so many different personalities, so many different upbringings from, different ways everybody's brought up in their house. Some guys have been disciplined a whole lot. Some kids are very entitled and spoiled. And see, I had the luxury is when I was managing, I could walk around the field and I could drift off and talk to one player for 10 minutes, just me and him. And there's a lot to be said about that. You get to talk to the player one-on-one and see what he's feeling, see what he's thinking. I would ask him, I said, do you believe in yourself? Baseball is a very challenging game. You can't do it overnight. This is a process, and you have to be patient. You have to believe in yourself. And I try to build the players up, and I asked them to ask me questions, about former players. You can actually tell players that believe in themselves. So,
John, if there is another question coming up, but hang on one second, I'll translate it to Russian.
Yeah.
Для тех, кто говорит по-русски, вопрос был о том, психологический вопрос, как Джон представлялся, что он очень энергичный человек, и как он поддерживает всю эту энергию. И Джон говорит, что он ответил на вопрос о психологии, что нужно знать своих игроков, и нужно разговаривать с ними один на один, нужно спрашивать, что он видит о бейсболе, как, может быть, посадить и разговаривать с ними постоянно. And I'll go to the second question, John. Do you Okay, I'm going to read it, but do you kind of teach proper mechanic first, even kids are not able to consistently repeat it, or ability to adjust and timing? And Aruna says he is more on the timing side.
Yeah, I think the adjustments come a little bit later on. I think, you need to figure out how your arm works and how your body works, and then you can make an adjustment. Some of the things I look for in throwing is you got to get your arm up, and you got to have this L right here. What I look for is, do they finish their pitches? Does their arm work and finish their pitches? Do they get underneath the ball? That means they don't get their arm up. They're getting underneath the ball. Do they cut themselves off? They're not finishing their pitches. They're just basic fundamentals you start with right from the beginning. And I understand there's some individualism. We're not all going to throw the same. We have different body types. We have some guys that are short armers, and they're pretty good pitchers. And then we have the other guys with a real long pull. And this is where we can maybe kind of make an adjustment with the delivery a little bit. Like, instead of taking it so long in the back, try to shorten up a little bit and try to have arm speed with the finish. And you got to work what they have to start with. Some of these kids, when they're very young, you can shape and form them easier than somebody's been that's been playing baseball for a long length of time, like 5 or 6 years, and they've moved, that you haven't had them, they moved in, and you don't know anything about them. But I look for those basic fundamentals right there about throwing. Staying on top of the ball is real important. Getting your arm up and finishing your pitches, that's extremely important. A lot of kids, they throw it and they just want to finish real quick, and this is what I'm calling cutting yourself off. You're not getting that extension out here in the front. All your good top pitchers is they use their strong legs, Roger Clemens, Nolan Ryan, and they drive off, they get on top, and then they explode towards the hitter, and they release the ball out in front. And there's something to be said about using everything: your shoulder, your legs, your torso, putting everything together and staying compact going to the plate. you know. I've been around a lot of good pitchers, and a lot of them tell me that their key point is separation. How they're separating their glove and the ball coming out. It's very important for the separation right here. You know, sometimes you get caught. You know, this glove gets caught right here, and you can't get your arm up. So there's that separation right here by getting your arm up. I wish Bill Holmberg was here with us, Pete. He could go in greater detail than I am, because he's a pitching guru more than me. But just fundamentals with young kids is getting your arm up, getting a nice release point, and following through. Those are some keys for me.
Let me try to quickly translate this,
Yeah,
John.
I'm sorry.
So, для тех, кто по-русски, значит, вопрос был о том, как видит подготовку питчеров Джон. Это или техника, или скорость. И он говорит, что обязательно техника, что поднятие локтя обязательно должно быть на 90 градусов, и выпуск широкий, не складываться, и ноги сильные. И техника очень важна в подготовке питчеров. Все должно быть отработано. И широкий размах, угол и выпуск, тянуться за мячом.
Hey guys, I just like to add one thing. When you're working with the real young kids, you can do a couple things also. You know, if you play catch at a short distance, and you don't let them think about what they're doing. You first tell them to play catch, and as soon as they catch the ball, turn and then throw it right back. They don't have to do it fast, but what you're trying to do is develop some rhythm and some timing naturally. And then you will begin to see some issues possibly with certain players. If you have the issues that John was talking about, let's just quickly use one example, and then we'll continue with the questions. Let's say you're playing catch back and forth, and you're very short distance. It's fun for the kids because they don't have to stop, because if they stop, then they think, right? They look at the ball, they take their time, then they throw it back. And the body needs to move a little bit to understand how to do it naturally. What you're looking for, are they turning completely sideways before they throw, so they use their whole body? Now, as you're doing this, let's say a youngster has trouble with getting his elbow up. Okay, those two players or that player, or you could actually have a drill specifically for them where they start with their elbows up and then throw, so the body understands the point of where the arm needs to get to. Okay, if the body understands the point where it needs to get to, now when they do it, go back and do it naturally, hoping it will understand that. Now, as John said, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's going to take a little time. The last thing I'll add is you can have them play catch together, okay? So if you have 6 on one side and 6 on the other, what I do is I say, ready, go, and I have 6 throw the ball to the other side. So we do it as a team. The other guys catch it. As soon as I see they caught it okay, now I say ready. But we always start with the ball in the glove because they have to work on the transfer. Then I say go, and they throw. Now, the better they get, the faster I go. They're not as good, I slow it down. Now, let's say 3 players are having trouble with the elbow getting up. I won't necessarily always mention those players. Sometimes as a group, I will say I want everybody to start in this position, then we're going to shuffle and throw. Now they're all working on it together, but we're actually reaching those 3 that are not doing it as well. Sometimes we do mention it, that these, John, Joe, Fred, you need to work more from starting from this position, and that's okay. But you don't want to constantly always talk about those kids because they might be the ones that are doing it wrong a lot. And now they're going to feel bad from a mental perspective. So that's a little bit of something hopefully that can help when you're working with the real young kids. And if we want to go questions.
Thank you, Peter. Еще есть вопросы какие-то, если по-русски или Christian, Ernest, Bob, what about you?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
If anybody else, can you guys please tell me from your experience what is the approximate amount of pitches that pitchers should go through the training? What is a safe number? I would say that he.
That's an excellent question. I tell you what, for you guys to even think about that, I tip my hat to you. There's too many kids are throwing too many pitches at a young age. I think it depends on what age group you are. First of all, putting a number on it depends on the age and how much they're throwing. And let's just say 50 pitches when they're 10 to 12 years old. And to me, I would never go over 75 until they are really a young man. I see kids throw 110 pitches, 120 pitches in a high school game. I just shake my head. It's just uncalled for. But the main thing you want to look for is no matter what the pitch count is this kid's reacting? Is he laboring? Is he got good tempo? Is his arm working? As soon as you see his arm start to drop and he's not finished in pitches, there's a problem. That means his arm is fatigued and it's time to get somebody else in there to pitch. So, like I said, a pitching count at a young age, I think it's great. I just, not only that is, why have one kid dominate a game when you can develop three? 30 pitches each. And then as you go on and they've handled 30 pitches, take them to 40 pitches. They've handled that, you go deeper, now you go 60 pitches. And then I would cut them off somewhere in the 75, 80. They don't need to be throwing more than that. And the other last thing is don't let them throw a breaking ball every pitch. Pete and I talked about this the last time we talked. A breaking ball is a hard pitch for a young kid to hit. So if I'm pitching in order to win, I might throw a breaking ball almost every pitch. Well, this does a couple things. Number one, it puts you at risk at a young age to have that snap and that torque on your shoulder. And the other thing is you never develop your fastball. You're never going to be able to throw as hard as you should because you don't give your arm a chance to develop. So that's a great question, and I think this should be emphasized. You definitely have to look that you don't want to throw in a lot of pitches. And number two, watch how your pitcher's doing out there and what he's doing. He can tell you when he's getting tired. Great question.
Thank you.
Let me translate this quickly. Вопрос был, сколько бросков должен делать игрок? John, you answered it about the game or a practice session? A game, I would assume, right?
Mainly about the game. Yeah,
About
the game. Yeah, practice. I don't think you don't need to throw that much in between. I mean, you need to throw enough to get a workout in. The pitcher works the sweat up. And I mean, when you're throwing on the side, you don't need to throw more than 40 pitches, 50 pitches at the most, a couple times a week to build our arm up. But, like I said, that's a great question.
Значит, вопрос был о том, для молодого спортсмена, особенно для тех, кому еще до 16 лет, сколько бросать. И Джан говорит, что он считает, что максимум во время игры должно быть 50, может быть 70 брызгов во время игры. А лучше всего, если это будет 30, и у тебя на игре будет 3 питчера. Но очень важно смотреть, как питчер ведет эту игру. Если он показывает всем телом, что ему очень тяжело, то его надо убирать еще быстрее. Что касается тренировок между играми, то он говорит, что 2 раза в неделю по 50 для того, чтобы набирала сила в плече, достаточно для питчеров, которым до 15-16 лет. Thank you.
Also, John mentioned, you know, a lot of us sometimes throw one pitcher too much. So remember, if you're throwing well, you can have other pitchers practice during the week and make them practice against hitters at home plate. So that way they're facing some hitters because maybe they've never done it that much. And then take the 1 or 2, 3, 4 pitchers, and sometimes you can throw them against 2 hitters, 3 hitters, 1 hitter. You can look at the lineup. Maybe 7, 8, 9 are coming up, and then you give them their first time up to pitch in a game against the 7th, 8th, 9th batter. So you slowly start to throw them into games. So now you have more pitchers pitching games instead of the same guys all the time. Questions?
Okay, I have a question for you. I have a group under 12, yes, and can I use with resistant bands and medicine balls?
You know, I know medicine balls are big in Europe and the Eastern Bloc countries. I'm not experienced with them. I really can't speak of it because we use them, and it's usually at a age where the players are a lot stronger. I'm real cautious about heavy weights at a young age, no matter what it is. So you need to be careful when kids are not developed physically to put too much weights involved on the shoulder, especially lifting up high. And like I said, I can't speak from experience because I don't know about medicine balls that much, and I'd rather not tell you something that I'm not sure about, to be honest with you.
Был вопрос для молодых спортсменов до 12 лет, если полезно использовать бинт растягивающий или медицинские мячи. И Джон говорит, что у него нет большого опыта работы с маленькими такими, но он считает, что... И говорит, что в Европе это очень популярно, но он говорит, что он бы не рекомендовал молодым бейсболистам пользоваться весом, особенно когда он поднимает руку выше плеча, потому что это очень могут травмировать плечо, если сами этим будут заниматься.
Дима хотел спросить, вот питчер отбросал, например, вот этих максимум 50-70 бросков, вот их 3 питчера, да, отбросали всю игру. После игры что они делают? Например, бегают, и надо ли лед прикладывать? Сколько они должны пробежать? Ну, как бы такая заминка.
John, there is a follow-up question on the 50-pitch count. After the game is over, so you have 3 pitchers finish in 50-pitch game, and what is the recommendation of on the rehab right after the game? So the game is over. Do you recommend ice, running, any other tips for this for the youth?
Well, first of all, put a jacket on, especially if it's cool weather. Definitely put a jacket on. I believe in ice. I was talking the other day with Pete, and I think one of our jobs as a coach is when a kid is playing catch and he has a soreness, a stiffness, you can usually throw 10, 12 pitches and it starts loosening up and you get the soreness out. If you're throwing 20 pitches and there's a sharp pain every time, that's a red flag. There's something wrong, and you need to have the player shut it down right then. And like I said, to develop arms, if we hurt them when they're young, it's counterproductive. We're not going to accomplish what we want to. So let's be aware if again, there's signals that the pitchers send when they're not getting their arm up, when not finishing pitches, they're cutting themselves off. and they keep moving their arm like that, there's a problem there, and let's find out what it is before having them continue to throw. They might have a tear. A little bit more rest wouldn't hurt, but I believe in ice, and taking care of your arm is the best for sure.
Значит, ответ такой. Конечно, сразу после игры надо обязательно куртку одеть, чтобы плечо было в тепле. Он говорит, что лед обязательно. И особенно он рекомендует следить, что если ты видишь по лицу или ребенок жалуется, что у него острая боль в плече, то нужно обязательно на этот момент закончить все. Многие дети, они стараются бросать через боль, но если ты видишь, что если какой-то знак, что какая-то боль, то нужно тут же закончить.
One thing that we have a challenge here in the United States is too much baseball. Especially, I live in Arizona. I mean, it's almost 80 degrees outside. It's warm almost year round, and the kids play baseball year round. My personal feeling is I like them to play other sports. I like to take a rest period of a couple months, getting away from the game, not only mentally, giving your arm a rest. And when you play other sports, it gives you some mental toughness. It makes you use different muscles. I encourage playing soccer and basketball. We have football here. It's a different football than yours. So I encourage playing other sports and getting away from baseball. Of course, with your weather, it's hard for you to play year round. I get that. But I also think there's a period there where you just completely get away from baseball and give it a rest.
Джон говорит, что в Аризоне, в Америке играют очень много бейсбола. И он рекомендует, чтобы... Это не такая ситуация в Европе, но в любой момент, если слишком много бейсбола, то он рекомендует поменять занятия, играть в футбол или найти другие виды занятий, чтобы голова хотя бы отдохнула.
Remember, that was a great point by John, because all the experts are showing us between the ages of 8 to 12, especially, they call it the windows of trainability. If you don't get them to be athletic, if they're not doing footwork, if they're not moving in different directions, left, right, back, forward, so other sports develop that. If you're not doing that, then you're going to get a player that he can't use his own athletic skills to be a good baseball player. We've seen that a lot with players that only play baseball and play 100 games a year at 12 years old, don't go forward to develop that well in the future. So be very careful. So I think that's an outstanding point by John.
You guys are challenged by bad weather. Being in Brest, I know y'all have that big gymnasium there right next to the field. You have that indoor facility there. And I don't know if it's possible, but if it's raining, it's snowing, and you want to do something baseball and you have a group grab, if y'all could set a big screen up and pull baseball games, baseball instruction, and pull them up on the game, the more they're exposed to the game. I used to emulate Johnny Bench when I was growing up. Him and Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle was my first hero, and then Johnny Bench was my second hero because I was a catcher. And whenever I could see Johnny Bench on TV, or if I went to a major league game in Houston, I would watch him. And kids are impressionable. So if you could give them, and it's a nice treat, to be honest with you. We do this in Dominican Republic, all the major league clubs I've been with. At night after dinner, we take them in and we set up, and sometimes we watch movies, but we'll watch baseball. We'll put different games up there and let them watch the games. And there's highlights, and it's just the best plays. And it's great for kids to see this. It gives them excitement. They want to be like that. And I recommend it highly if you could set up some kind of screen and show highlight tapes and maybe instruction. I think it's a great tool of teaching.
I'll take a minute just translate.
Sure.
Джон рекомендует, что даже если в холодную погоду, что если дождь или снег, например, собирать детей и на большом экране все вместе смотреть лучшие моменты в бейсболе. Дети стараются подражать каким-то героям бейсбольным, и игра становится для них немножко по-другому. Они появляются у них идеалы и учат каким-то элементам, смотря на бейсбол, который показывают лучшие игроки.
Okay, other questions?
Ну, Дима, я хотел спросить, бывает, что, например, в команде, пусть там 12 человек, 9, мы как бы говорим, что вот игра. Например, 1 питчер, 2, 3 питчера, но они же дальше, ну, отбросал он 50 бросков и пошел играть шорстопом или, ну, там, на другую позицию. Бывает, что, ну, тебе, чтобы выиграть игру или достойно отыграть, все равно как бы и дети же учатся по разным позициям. Как бы, ну, как вообще вот в Америке, как бы у них все, питчер только бросает и все, или тоже, например, там по позициям?
Во-первых, Джон...
То есть две позиции имеют, как бы 3 позиции.
Но это Питер может ответить. Джон высшую лигу тренировал. So, John, I guess, I don't know if you will be able to answer, maybe Peter will be in a better position. So the question is, based on your recommendation, which they like, to limit to a 50 pitch count of the game for the youth. But typically in Europe, the team is 9 to 12 people. So you will use, and pitcher is sometimes is your best player. So you have to put him back in the game, find a position for him. What are your recommendation? How to go about that? Is it advisable to put him as a shortstop, or you have to put him, on some of the safer positions for the arm?
That's a great question.
Это отличный вопрос, он говорит.
I would try to put him at first base and maybe right field, 2 places you might not throw as much. I wouldn't put him in shortstop because there might be a lot of action. And I'm not overemphasizing players, can't play the game and not throw at all, after they pitch. I'm not saying that, but I just think it's a great thought to even think about protecting that player. A lot of teams over here, they don't care. If this guy's their best pitcher and he's their best shortstop or best center fielder, off he goes right there. Even to think about that, it tells me you guys are really thinking about your players, and that's what we have to do as coaches. And these kids, they look for our guidance, and when you think like you're thinking, that tells me you got the kids' interest at heart, and that's what we have to have as a coach. We lose sight of that in the United States. Trust me.
Саша, ему очень понравился твой ответ. Он ответил на него 2 частями. Во-первых, он говорит, что он бы, скорее всего, поместил, скорее всего, игрока на первую базу или на правое поле, в правое поле. Но более того, он говорит, что, конечно, нельзя ребенка закрыть, чтобы он не бросал вообще после такой игры, несмотря на то, что он на нагрузку. Но что он еще сказал, что для него вообще очень приятно, что ты даже думаешь об этом. В Америке не думают об этом. В Америке лучший игрок идет играть шорстопом, и все об этом забывают. И он говорит, что, задавая такой вопрос, он видит, что у тебя дети, у тебя в сердце, и ты думаешь о них. И ему было очень приятно услышать этот вопрос.
I just threw out the 50 pitch limit out there. If this kid is strong and he's throwing effortless and he's not laboring, he might be ready to throw 60 or 70 pitches. I'm just using 50 because, when you start thinking about 100 and 120, that's when you get into problems. I think it all depends where this kid is as far as his body strength and how his arm works and how he throws. If he's got good technique and he's throwing good and he's thrown 50 pitches easy, there's no reason why he can't go a little bit more. The problem is, or the thinking is, the next time he pitches, if he throws 70 pitches and the next time he's throwing, he's having trouble in the second inning and he's thrown 35 pitches, a lot of pitches in 2 innings, that's when you might think about making a change the next game. So it goes game by game. If he's thrown a lot of pitches in this game, the next game you might cut down on his pitches. You need to have good common sense about this.
Он хотел добавить, что вот цифра 50 – это, конечно, все по ситуации. Если он свободно ведет игру, эти 50 могут стать и 60, и 70. Но если он, например, 60 и 70 в этой игре, но в следующей он у тебя после 30, ты видишь, что он, трудно ему, каждый игрок для него очень сложно, то даже после 35 забираю его из игры.
I just typed in your notes that went out. You can also go to a couple of websites. MLB.com has a Pitch Smart program, give you some guidelines. Also, ASMI gives you some guidelines. ASMI was developed by Dr. Andrews and his group. So everything John said was awesome. And remember, they recommend, and as John said, you're the coach. Look at the player, how he's doing and all that. They recommend for every pitch that they throw that they rest 1 hour. So if they throw 30 pitches, they're going to rest 30 hours. What's important is, remember, after he's done pitching, to recover faster. And that's what John was talking about earlier. And make sure that he has his rest, because otherwise the recovery is going to be very difficult. And on top of it, he can get hurt. That's a problem. Now, he may not get hurt now at 13, but come 16, now he has a major injury. And that's where you have to be very careful. So the more pitchers you have, the better that helps. So the mentality of developing more pitchers, I think, is very important. And we're starting to see that in the U.S. a little bit more, having more pitchers at the younger groups. But and I know it's not easy in Europe, but that's something you can spend in the off season, spending more time doing, developing more pitchers as you're working out indoors. So I think that might help.
So let me just quickly translate, and then maybe I'll have another question. Питер дал ссылку, где программа разработана доктором, один из известных докторов работает с питчерами, как готовить их и как восстанавливать. И он говорит, что это очень важно. И Питер говорит, что количество бросков очень важно, и особенно очень важно развивать больше питчеров. Чем больше, тем лучше, особенно для детей. John, if you don't mind, I think everyone is looking at the watch, and just for the courtesy of your time, let's say my question is about the maybe national teams or even under 23 or major the professional clubs in Eastern Europe. The resourcing, coaching resourcing, and managing resourcing is very limited. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 people running a game. Which is much different what we see, let's say, in the United States, from college level to minor league level to major league level. What would be your recommendation on that multitasking the coach in Eastern Europe or Europe need to do to have all the aspects of the life, the running game, the signals, the signs, the pitch account, the strategy, what do you do on the next batter? How would you suggest, considering that 1 person or 2 people are running an entire game?
One thing that I always think about is when I do the national team. I did it in China. I did it in China for 9 years. I used to tell my players, I'm managing you for you to be your coach one day. I want you to tell this in. And I emphasize that there's certain players I can see are going to be coaches and they're getting older. And when I get an older player, I try to delegate some authority to him to help me out a little bit with the younger players. You got a lot on your plate. There's a lot of things going on. So if your younger players, if they could help you out a little bit, talking, like if I see something in the game and one of my older players isn't playing, and I say, look, when so-and-so comes in, I want you to mention this to him because I'm focusing on the game. I have a responsibility to the team to pay attention to the game. But I also, I want to teach and instruct. That's number one. That's why I take notes. But also, the more coaches you have, obviously helps you. I lean on my pitching coach a lot. I just tell him, I said, you got the pitchers, and I let him take care of them. When you're a one-man band, you're challenged. But I like having older players, talking to them, especially during the game. I'll bring him over there and I say, look, in this situation, this is what I'm thinking. Start teaching him the game. And now all of a sudden he's 30, 32, and he's not playing anymore. He'll be ready to coach and help and help the young kids even more. So I've always believed in looking for players that I thought had potential to be coaches after they were finished playing.
Thank you. Let me just translate quickly.
Sure.
Я задал вопрос, какая была бы рекомендация для тренеров, которые, скажем, в Америке в команде много тренеров, которые ведут игру, от питчера до главного тренера до помощников, и все следят за разными аспектами игры. Я спросил, какая его рекомендация, и он говорит, да, он понимает, он тренировал сборную Китая, но что он делает, он старших и опытных игроков, он учит во время игры, всяким моментам игры, и иногда подходит и спрашивает совета, и что происходит со временем, эти люди перестают играть, и некоторые из них показывают хорошие возможности, чтобы стали тренерами. И такой был ответ у него.
One thing I believe in, I'll never stop learning. I will never stop learning. I seek information all the time. I watch on TV. I talk to fellow coaches on the phone. When I go to games, when I scout, I'll hear some guys talk about certain subjects, especially about pitching, and I'm always something in. I think when I think I've know everything about the game, it's time for me to get out. So I think this is great right here when we share ideas, and I'm not I don't pretend to know everything about baseball. When I'm not sure about something, infield is not really my strong point. I was an infielder as a catcher. I'll call Larry Boa, coached with me for several years, good baseball man, and I'll ask him questions. And that's one thing that we as coaches don't try to fake it like you know something and you really don't. When you're not sure of something, try to find out. Go to Google and see what major league players say what major league coaches say, and try to learn something. Especially like catching. A lot of guys, they don't know anything about catching because they've never done it before. So now they're trying to instruct a catcher and they really don't know anything about it. So try to do your homework before you start instructing things, because I think one of the worst things we can do is overcoach, and I emphasize that, overcoach. A lot of players figure things out on their own, and all we try to do is try to walk the line straight. So again, us as coaches, we never stop learning, and I think that's a real important fact that we have to know in our mind, that we're always learning. And I know you guys are, because that's why you want to have this conference call. I think it's great.
Let me just quickly translate. First of all, from me, it's thank you. This is just, it's invaluable. So, Саш, он немножко продолжил тему по поводу тренировать. Он говорит, что он всегда ходит с записной книжкой, всегда записывает что-то. Все, что он видит, или все, что он хочет сказать, или любой анализ он записывает себе в тетрадку. Еще он сказал, что тренер не может знать все. И он даже на его уровне, он говорит, что я был кетчером, но я не знаю инфилд. И он звонит тренеру, там назвал имя Ларри Бор, который спрашивает у него совета постоянно. И он говорит, что как тренер, и он его рекомендация, чтобы учились каждый день. В Google заходили, если надо. Информации очень много. И он советует, не нужно браться тренировать, если ты что-то не понимаешь. Лучше пойти и научиться этого немножко для того, чтобы потом передать другим.
We have tools now that coaches never had before. There was never the internet when I was growing up. And now we have the capabilities of communicating like this, connecting with each other. And we can go online and we can find information. The game is a lot easier to learn now than it was. It used to be in the old days, you just played. Athletes, they figure things out because they're athletes. And that's been proven by several major league clubs. Kansas City was the first one. They started an academy with all it was athletes. They didn't even play baseball. And a couple of the guys made it to the major leagues out of this group. So give kids some credit. They can figure things out. They need our guidance and our leadership to put workouts together, give them an opportunity to play. And for us, we need to build them up, encourage them, discipline when it needs to be disciplined. But the one thing I emphasize about baseball is let them have fun. Let them enjoy playing the game. I can't emphasize that enough.
Джон говорит, что работая с людьми, которые имеют потенциал спортивный, еще намного лучше и важнее, чем они были бейсболисты. Говорит, что Канзас-Сити когда-то начала свою первую академию. The reference to Kansas City Academy, it was in Europe or it was in Dominican Republic?
U.S.
This was in Florida, actually. And then,
In Florida.
And then everybody has an academy in Dominican now, but this was back in the 70s. Frank White and UL Washington, two major leaguers. I mean, Frank White was an all-star player, and he was just signed as an athlete. Baseball was scouting track meets and handball events. I mean, crazy things. But that's, when I look at China, I look at some of their handball players, and those athletes are just absolutely fabulous. And cricket and whatever, it's just, when you get a strong body and you got a body that moves and you like to see if you can teach it to play baseball. And I think you can.
I'll translate, I'll share something with you. Значит, Канзас-Сити когда-то в середине 70-х годов начала свою первую академию среди просто спортсменов. Не взяли туда бейсболистов, а взяли людей, которые были сильны. И из них, они выросли из них бейсболисты высшей лиги. И он говорит, что дети сами могут, сами могут понять игру, дать им возможность, чтобы они имели удовольствие, и они сами научатся. Кстати, Питер тоже говорил это в прошлый раз, что дети сами себя поправляют. I'll share something with you, John. I studied program in Belarus in late 80s, and that's exactly what I have done. I went to a physical education academy, and I signed and recruited all the athletes, anyone who wanted to play, tennis players, team handball players, track and field, hockey, soccer, and build a team to compete, with the Russian teams and Ukrainian teams, and we did pretty good at that time. I had to move to the United States in the early 90s, but that was a way. I had a Jurula thrower, who was going 92 miles an hour from the left side, and such and such and such. I think in the earlier mid 80s, what Soviet Union went through exactly the same pattern. We found somebody who could, and we just made them baseball players. It's
very good. Very good. I just like to say, the academies I did in Europe, we had Eastern Bloc countries that sent players, and the development I've told people there the development of the Czech Republic has been astounding how much they've improved. I mean, they're sending players to the United States to play. I keep in touch with some of these kids, and their national team is getting stronger and stronger. And I follow several people from Belarus on the internet, and they put pictures of workouts, and I see all these kids out there, and it's exciting for me, you know, because I got to visit there and talk with these people, and this is feel good for me. Like I said, for you to build up baseball in your countries, it's just such. It makes me feel so good, and then I look over here in our country, and we take it for granted. And I just want to tell you, keep up the great work. You know, again, I can't believe the progress Czech Republic has made. I mean, they're starting to get on a national level with some really good countries in the world, and I got to just say, great going. It's just a fabulous job. Really, really good job.
John complimenting how бейсбол развит в Восточной Европе, особенно в Чехии, насколько начинают академии, у них эти дети стали выступать за национальную сборную, которая очень сильная. Он следит за ними, они приезжают в Америку, он за ними следит. И тоже Джан упомянул, что вот он следит за белорусскими спортсменами тоже, которые ставят их. Я, скорее всего, это, Саша, это твой сын. Он, скорее всего, это за ним он следит, которые выставляют свои фото и видео на Facebook.
Очень приятно. Я могу сказать, что, к примеру, в бейсбол играют все. То есть я начал, когда мне было, по-моему, 16 лет, например, Илья с самого детства, да, вы там с университетского, ну, когда беловежские зубры были, да, к примеру. Конечно, разница в том плане, когда есть конкуренция, например, 1000 детей, да, и как бы как треугольник на выходе там в сборную, там, например, 10 или там 15 человек выходит, да. А у нас конкуренции не было, и получается, что играешь на всех турнирах, и как бы практика. Я просто к тому, что когда он рассказывал, что в 70-х годах в Канзас-Сити типа взяли спортсменов и учили бейсбол. То есть, к примеру, я сейчас, ну, некие тонкости знаю, конечно, например, и мне это приятно, но очень обидно, когда дети, например, с самого маленького возраста начинают тренироваться, и им потом 16 лет, и их некуда деть. Все, до свидания.
So Alex was sharing his experience. He was actually also start playing baseball when he was already an established athlete. And but the difference in Eastern Europe that the number of kids playing, they are same number, 25 kids, let's say, on the team, and they play in all the tournaments together, and they developing within themselves, and competition is limited, so there is no fighting for a spot, let's say, for the next level. And also the problem he shared that when the kid is 16, it's basically now it's the end of the road for many of them, because the number on elite clubs is very limited, and then you have to go and make some money for the family. So he shared his on one hand he appreciated the association with the Kansas City in 70s because he could reflect that on himself, and then on the other hand he said that today, after a child reaches 16, it becomes a challenge how to keep him in the game.
Yeah, we can only do so much, and hopefully baseball expand in Belarus and some of the other countries, and they can continue playing professional leagues or whatever. It's just going to take time, and that's where we come in with vision and patience and drive, and just keep pushing, and I mean, the government's limited in funds and everything, but sometimes when the sports administrations give you a little extra money, you can push the program even further. But it takes time, and you gotta keep pushing.
Он дает совет: работайте, поддавливайте, используйте возможности. Он понимает, что это сложно, и приятно с вами со всеми разговаривать, потому что вы развиваете бейсбол в тех странах, где это не так просто. Ему это очень приятно.
Ну да.
I have a question, if I may.
Yep, go.
Yeah, in Estonia, we have basically in adult level, we have players from, let's say, 15 to 41, maybe 42. I still play myself, I'm 41. But as we have also something like 10 or 12 players, and sometimes we just make some bad throws that will actually kind of destroy our arms from here or something. Can you recommend some good relief program for players that, for example, if they have to play after 2 days from the injury, can you recommend some good relief programs for that? Thank you.
Treatment or the exercising program?
Treatment and
medical treatment or exercise program?
No, medical treatment. I think more. I think more physical exercise or something like this. Well, how you can keep your arm moving.
Well, I don't think it makes a difference at the age. It's more important when young kids to teach them good habits. But, guys, when we get older, it takes us longer, to get loose. You got to warm up more, take your time. You don't rush it. You got to know when to back off. If you got a sore arm and you're playing, just tell the cutoff man, if you're in the outfield, to come out further and just get the ball to him. And you got to have some maintenance on yourself. Think about using your legs, but the main thing is you still got to warm properly. You got to ice for sure after the game. I would recommend putting heat on your arm before the game to start with, to loosen things up. Stretch more. I think stretching's a big part of it. It's your love of the game, and that's, your heart's there, but sometimes your body doesn't respond like it used to. So, it's just maintenance. You got to do the best you can, to be honest with you.
Вопрос был,
Thank you, sir.
Christian задал вопрос, какую рекомендацию, особенно если возрастные игроки, что делать после игры. И ответ был, что это независимо, сколько игроку лет. Он рекомендует, что обязательно разминаться до игры, желательно, если даже тепло положить на плечо до игры. Если тебя беспокоит плечо или рука, то во время игры сказать человеку, чтобы он немножко ближе подошел, чтобы бросить ему мяч, и беспокоиться о своем теле, понимая, насколько ты готов до и во время игры.
Я только желаю, чтобы быстрее пандемия, коронавирус закончился, границы открыли, все государства, и дети начали играть в бейсбол. Скорее бы. Все остались живы и здоровы.
Sasha is making a comment that he wishes that this whole epidemic will end as soon as possible. We will get back to normal. Kids will start playing, and everyone will stay healthy and see the game again.
Yeah, we're all challenged right now. We're used to watching baseball on TV. We're going out to games. I think I don't know about y'all, but I don't go far from my house. This is a serious situation, and we've never been through anything like this. This is a world catastrophe, really. But we'll persevere. We'll persevere, and be looking forward to getting back on the ball field. And I'm sure you guys will too.
And in the meantime, we'll continue to do these.
I find it very useful, and I appreciate, unfortunately, I don't know why people did not join this now, but John, and Peter, both of you, it's very invaluable, so much knowledge and experience, and being a part of Eastern Europe baseball, I feel that that knowledge is missing. There is no one, in the United States, you can turn around and you can have someone with a minor league or major league experience or college experience, right, who's teaching and coaching and living through this. In Eastern Europe, you don't have that. There are tools and Google and videos, but that sharing and learning, it's even in MLB, one player teaching another player sitting next to each other. This is the only way. And if you're looking for a silver lining of the self-isolations of this video sessions which Peter is running, and he's having guests, it's very valuable. You're absolutely right. It's always about learning.
Yeah, and tell us the best times. Is this the best days to do this? I mean, we're all home anyways.
I thought it is, right? It's everyone is at home. It's a night. I think it's perfect timing.
Saturday?
Yeah. We can do midweek. I mean, everyone is at home anyway. You're right. We can do midweek if it's we don't have to wait for the next weekend.
Right. Okay.
John, anything, any funny story in your MLB experience? Anything you feel that we can laugh together? I don't know about the play, about maybe about the situation. Maybe you got lucky on the call. I don't know, anything like that.
Well, I was thinking last night, I was talking to my wife. I said, I wish they'd have had the replay back when I was coaching and managing. It saved me a lot of money and a couple suspensions. And I told Pete a story last time I talked to him. I'm sure y'all have heard of Lou Piniella. I coached for Lou for 14 years, and just a great competitor. I mean, he was a gladiator. I mean, there was no false pretense about him. He come to play every night. And the story I told Pete was he always asked me my opinion because he wanted to see if I could reaffirm what he was thinking, or I could make him think about doing something a different way. So he always say, John, what do you want to do here? John, what do you want to do here? So this one night he says, John, what do you want to do here? Well, I told him, and he did it. It didn't work. So about 2 innings go by, and he comes walking by me, and he says, God damn, I can't believe we did that. What a stupid move that was. And, I'm just taking it. What am I going to do? So I didn't say anything. So the next night he comes walking up to me, he says, John, what do you want to do here? I said, Lou, you make $3 million. Why don't you make the call? Terrell walked off. And he started laughing, and he came over to me, gave me a bear hug, and he says, that's why I love you, because you got balls and you stand up to me. But, it's kind of a light moment in the dugout. And, I really think, this reminds me of baseball people after the games in the old days. We'd sit down and have a beer, and we would just talk about experience of past years and the stories that came up from these, different coaches and managers. It's what makes the sport so good. Baseball is about family. I got new family right here. You guys are a new part of my family. We're family. And, I think it's good to share stories and experiences. And I lived some experiences that some of you haven't been able to live, and you've had experiences in your countries that I haven't. And sharing these things is all about it.
Let me try to translate this. So, я спросил у него поделиться какой-нибудь интересной историей из его жизни в MLB. И Джон рассказал, что он работал очень много лет с Лу Пинелло. Лу Пинелло, известный менеджер, был в Сиэтле, и в Янкис. И однажды подходит к нему Лу и спрашивает: слушай, в этой ситуации что ты думаешь? И Джон дал ему совет. Он послушался этой ситуации, она не сработала. Через два иннинга Лу подходит к нему и говорит: какая была дурацкая идея. Ну, что делать? Дурацкая так дурацкая, думает Джон. На следующий вечер подходит опять Лу и спрашивает него: ну, что будем делать в этой ситуации? И Джон ему говорит: слушай, у тебя 3 миллиона зарплаты, сам принимай решение здесь. И Лу обнял его, говорит: вот поэтому я тебя люблю, потому что ты можешь всегда мне дать правильный ответ. И он говорит, что ему очень приятно самому присутствовать при таких видеоконференциях, потому что, да, у него есть опыт работы в MLB и с национальными командами, но у вас свой опыт, он считает, что бейсбольная это одна семья, и что делится с двух сторон. Если кто опоздал немножко, он хотел послушать вас тоже, какие у вас, что вы делаете в своих странах, но это уже прошло. Anyone else? Anyone? You guys? You wanna ask? Денис, что там у тебя? Ты хочешь что-то есть интересное?
Нет, я с интересом слушаю. Спасибо. Очень неожиданно я подключился в последний момент, но с большим удовольствием. Рад всех видеть. Много знакомых лиц, как говорится. Так что я просто слушаю пока. Получаю удовольствие от общения.
Anyone? Christian? Карен? Саша, у тебя есть какие-то еще вопросы?
Я тоже слушаю, как бы. Все по ходу.
I have maybe a couple thousand of different questions. I think we're not going to fit it here today. It's almost 11 o'clock p.m. today here in Estonia. So.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, I very appreciate that you guys are doing this, and we get some help or confirmation about things. It's very nice to meet you all, and John, I thank you very much for this thing, and Peter, you too.
Our pleasure. Hopefully, like I said, we'll do more of these so that way get more questions out.
Enjoy it, guys. Best of luck. Safe for sure, and we'll do it again.
Mitri, we good?
Anyone? Any takers? Anything? Yeah, I don't want to let it go. I mean, this is rare. To have you and have John. I mean, I don't want to let it go. I can continue to ask. John, I think I'm not coaching in Eastern Europe. I'm helping more on the admin part. But what I observe, I travel and I see national teams play and clubs playing. And what I observed that there is an Achilles heel among the managers and the coaches on that decision making, on the proper decision making. Not enough stats, not enough experience, and everything is based on that maybe everything they lived through until now. And any recommendation on how to make a leap, to maybe become a better, not to coach, not to go through the practices and drills, or how to manage a game better.
Well, we talked about this last time I was on with Pete. I've been guilty of this, of over-managing. And what over-managing is sometimes you ask your players to do something they're not capable of doing. Know the strengths of your players. I can remember in China going to watch some games, and a team is losing 9-0 in the last inning, and they're bunting a runner over. And when they ask me afterwards, I say, why? What's one run? You're losing 9 runs. What is one run? So, it's a type of thing of just learning the game, and like pitch counts. When you want to be aggressive, you want to pitch count in your favor. That means there's more balls than strikes. A lot of Latin teams, they'll push the envelope, and they'll put the game in motion, hit and running, stealing with 2 strikes, and you can do that. I think there's some merit to that, but it's when, if you want to hit and run, you don't want to hit and run with no balls and 2 strikes, because the pitcher doesn't have to throw a strike, and he's probably going to throw a ball out of the strike zone. So that's not a good count to run in. So learn what counts work. And, it's just an experience and studying the game. When you're losing 10-0, why risk getting a player hurt trying to steal second base? You think of things like this, how you can improve. If you want to be aggressive and the count's 3 balls and no strikes, if the pitcher's throwing strikes and he just happened to have a count 3-0, let him swing. Let him learn how to hit. But if the guys walk 3 hitters in a row, you don't want him swinging. It doesn't make good strategy. So it's more or less just learning the game as you go, getting confidence, and again, you got to know the strengths of your players. What are they capable of doing? If a guy strikes out a lot, do you want him hitting and running? Teaching them how to bunt. Just little things of the game, that you can teach as you go along. And, again, watching the game on TV, and watching, how they play, you're a different circumstance, because these are the best players in the world. But if you listen to the announcer and he talks about why do you think they're doing this strategy, you can pick up on things. So, it's just about studying the game. I like to read. I'll read stuff sometimes, and it opened my eyes to something. Not as far as instruction, but why managers do certain things. Tony La Russa was the first manager to start matching up pitchers, and this has brought a whole new game to our game. I mean, that's all we're doing the last 2 innings is 8 pitchers come in the game, and it's prolonged the game. But Tony's the one that introduced it. So just know your players. What are they capable of doing, and how can you make the player better?
I'll translate this quickly. Just need a second. Я задал вопрос, как тренеру стать лучше быть тренером, особенно во время игры. Не как готовить игроков, а как вести игру лучше. И совет был такой, что нужно два пути. Во-первых, знать своих игроков, знать, что делать при pitch count, и смотреть игры. И особенно очень много комментаторы очень много советуют во время игры. Комментаторы разбирают и анализируют и дают советы, почему это сделано так или иначе. Anyone else?
Дима, но главному тренеру, например, лучше сидеть в дэгауте, анализировать, например, рулить всей ситуацией, или же на 3-й базе.
John, when you coach, outside of USA United States, when you with the limited coaching resources, do you prefer to be on the bench to monitor the game, or you come out and you coach the third and you in the game and you run in the game? That was the question.
That's a very good question, and I can answer it a couple different ways. I coached 7 years in the major leagues at third base, so I'm an experienced third base coach. Now, do I go outside the dugout and coach third base? Because I know I'm probably better than who I'm going to send out there because I'm an experienced third base coach. What I try to do is I try to develop coaches, and I try to teach another coach how to coach third base. I talk to him, I work with him, I explain situations to him. And I've had a couple third base coaches in China that improved so much. And it was just a matter of teaching them how to coach third base situations. And myself, I prefer to be on the bench. I can control the bench, make sure the players are in the game. I can think more clearly. That's a big responsibility, coach third base. And so my personal preference, I would rather be in the dugout. But there's times I wish in big games I was out at third base because I knew that the situations were huge, and I knew I could handle the task. But again, I delegated authority, and I helped develop a couple young coaches, and they end up turning out to be really good third base coaches. But I prefer to be in the dugout.
Саша, он опять сказал, что это очень отличный вопрос. И он говорит так, что он тренировал третью базу в MLB в течение 7 лет. Но и он знает третью базу хорошо. Это сложная тренерская позиция, и он ее хорошо знает. Но когда он тренирует сборные, например, в Китае, несмотря на то, что он знает третью базу хорошо, он предпочитает сидеть на скамейке в дагауте. Тут две причины. Во-первых, другие немножко ответственность. И вторая, то, что он дает тренерам, вот китайским тренерам, учить, как вести третью базу самим. Но он предпочитает оставаться на скамейке и следить за игрой со скамейки.
This reminded me of one story. I always laugh when I tell this story. My first year of coaching in the big leagues was 1986 with Toronto. And that's when they started putting your name on the back of your uniform. And I said, oh, this is great. There's my name, McLaren. Oh, man, I'm wearing number 7 like Mickey Mantle. I mean, I was all proud. So we go to New York. New York fans are not nice. They are not nice people by any means. So I'm coaching third base, and we're starting to win a little bit. And this fan over there, he says, hey, McLaren, how you doing? And I'm not acknowledging him. I know better than that. And he says, well, I can see you're a fan of Dunkin' Donuts. You went there this morning. And in those days, we wore our pants so tight we could barely get them over our hips. So I'm sitting there, and this guy's talking about having a donut, and maybe I should back off the donuts a little bit. And I was glad when I went to Boston, they didn't put the name on the back of the uniform for a couple years. So I was glad to get to Boston for a year. But that's how some of the fans are in New York.
Значит, Джон рассказал историю, когда он начал работать в высшей лиге в 1986 году с Торонто. Это был первый год, когда на майках стали писать имена. Ему было приятно. Макларен написано, Микки Ментл. Было очень приятно. И когда они приехали в Нью-Йорк, он слышит, что сзади кто-то на трибунах кричит: «Макларен, как дела?» И он говорит, что я понимаю, что мне не нужно реагировать на это все. И этот же болельщик говорит: «О, ты, наверное, слишком много провел времени в булочной». И он говорит, что по тем временам, он говорит, что в Нью-Йорке болельщики вообще, они очень грубые и очень нехорошие. И он говорит, что он начал понимать, что там немножко веса набрал, наверное. И был очень рад, что нашел работу потом после Торонто, переехал в Бостон, когда там на майках не пишут имени, что никто даже не знает к нему обращаться. Рассказал такую историю.
А вообще, Дима, есть видео, например, когда он был тренером в высшей лиге? То есть в интернете есть такие?
John, Sasha is asking if he would like to see a couple of maybe YouTube videos with you in the game. Would you have anything in your archives you can you keep, so the guys can see you in action?
He's already checked, hadn't he?
Ты проверял, Саша, или нет?
Не, я не знаю, я спрашиваю, есть ли какие-то
I'm
ссылочки
on
кинуть
YouTube,
тогда.
trust me.
Он говорит, что можно на YouTube найти, он говорит.
Yeah, unfortunately, with today's media, that nothing goes away. So I got a couple moments on YouTube.
Он говорит, что на сегодня невозможно ничего скрыть. Он говорит, что некоторые моменты на YouTube.
Got a couple umpire experiences.
Несколько моментов с судьями. The coaching third, it's a lot of responsibilities. You know, do you stretch a single to a double? Do you send them home? You know, it's and you know, how do you reading the outfielders? It's a lot of things going on third. So how do you go from the inning to inning, game team to team? So how do you adjust yourself? How do you prepare to the game before the game?
Third base coach is all about situations. You got to know the inning. You got to know the number of outs. You got to know the score. And this dictates what you can do. When you're winning, you can take chances. You never want to make the first or third out at third or home. When you're losing late innings, you got to be more conservative. And you stress to the base runners, they got to think like you're thinking. That's what you're thinking. You got to emphasize getting a primary lead, a secondary lead from the bases. And as long as you think situations, it's an easier job for you as a coach. You know, you react how the ball's hit, but you got to know how fast the runner is, what the inning, what the score, what the outs, like I told you, how good an arm do they have in the outfield. And if you keep the general principles in order, it's much easier for you to be a good third base coach.
Для тех, кому по-русски. Я спросил, вот у него большой экспириенс в MLB и вести третью базу. И говорит, я спросил, насколько... Ну, это сложно, на самом деле. Как он готовится, как он ведет от игры к игре, от ининга к инингу. И ответ был такой, что нужно знать обязательно не только как противники, но нужно знать обязательно и счет, и сколько аутов, и какой ининг. И если вы ведете, то он намного агрессивнее на базах, если нужно там с первой до третьей добежать. Если проигрывают, и особенно в последних, то немножко консервативно. Никогда не делать третий аут в третьей базе, никогда не делать третий аут в доме. Все это постоянно под контролем. Сколько аутов, какой счет, какой ининг. Постоянно под контролем. В голове. Anyone else? Everyone is thinking? So, John, you know, I really don't want to let you go, but I you know, it's already 2 hours, and so maybe last question, anyone? Питер, да, по-русски. Последний вопрос. Еще один вопрос. Денис, как ты там?
Жив-здоров, слушаю.
У меня все отлично.
Kairo, on sul midagi?
No, I've been listening a lot, you know. I've been writing some things down. I got a lot to process now. I'm just grateful for this opportunity I have to hear and listen everything you guys say and talk here. I want to thank all of you for that. I actually don't have no questions because, you know, I already gathered so much information about baseball. I'm looking forward for the next sessions, I guess. Maybe then I have something or anything to ask again. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Dimitri, we good?
I guess.
Okay,
John,
guys.
Peter, thank
Yeah.
you very, very much.
Tell Anna hello from me in Belarus. Good lady.
I will. We have.
She's a big
we have.
big baseball fan, and I tell you, I love watching her on Facebook. So greetings to all of my friends in Europe, and until the next time we meet, if you think of something, just write it down and see if we can help you out.
Thank you very much. I'll pass all your wishes to Belarus coaches and Brest, and thank you very much for this time. And thank you for
enjoyed it.
keeping the window open.
Respect what you're doing a lot.
John, again, thanks for joining us, John. Dimitri, thanks for organizing it. Guys, thank you very much. Remember, you're our friends, so anything you need, you can just ask, and we'll have more of these. So stay safe, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you,
Bye.
John. Thank you,
Have a
Peter.
good evening.
Thank you,
Bye,
Dmitry.
Pete.
Bye.
Just going to stop the recording. Perfect.